Hello, and welcome back to the podcast where you are invited for lighthearted conversations about things that matter as you seek to live your most meaningful, beautiful, and joyful life. I'm your host, Dr. Edie Wadsworth, and I hope you enjoy your stay here at the House of Joy. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome to House of Joy.
House of Joy. I'm on this side of the podcast today.
We are so excited to have Katie Martin with us, who's always our producer of the podcast.
Hello. It's true.
If you haven't met Katie, I'm so happy for you to meet her today. Katie has been working for us 6 months, more than 6 months.
Since like September.
Yes. And she's amazing. She is our social media marketing guru, manager, magician.
Whatever the hats are.
She's really amazing at her job. And this was a really interesting topic that we wanted to cover today, which is modern medicine from a doctor's perspective. So although I'm no longer practicing medicine, I was in medicine for about 20 years. And what I've learned as far as dealing with a lot of my own issues holistically, so holistic health, and then getting to the root cause of like what's really going on with you physically or emotionally or in whatever way. And Katie has a great story because, and I'm going to let her share some of that. We're going to ask her lots of good questions. We both have kind of similar stories, except I'm about, 8 or 9 years past my initial thing, and Katie is right in the middle of it. So I'm so excited that she agreed to come on the podcast and talk about some struggles she's been having and how she has decided to really take things as much as possible into her own hands and get to the root cause and really help herself feel a lot better. So I want to start, though, by saying that as a family doctor who practiced medicine for 20 years, I am so thankful for my background in medicine. I'm so thankful for what I learned when I was in medical school. I'm so thankful that we have modern medicine. I actually have a son who's a physician as well, and I have a daughter who's a nurse practitioner. My husband is a physician. We are one heck of a medical family around here. But what happened to me 7 or 8 years ago, I say 7 or 8 because that's when I think when I really started healing in all the ways that really matter. But my health crashed actually about 10 years ago. I was 43. And I was already not practicing medicine by that point. But when my health crashed, I got offered what most of us get offered when we have some problems, just like Katie did. We have some problems. We go to the physician and we get offered, a bunch of things to take to help us feel better. And I had been practicing medicine long enough to realize, okay, the patients that I have taken care of over this number of years that I've been practicing don't seem to actually be getting better. It feels more like a Band-Aid. And I really, even though I had had no training in holistic health, I really wanted to figure out, okay, so why did this happen? Why is my thyroid doing this? Why do I have so much inflammation? Why can't I sleep? Why am I so anxious? Because if you would have looked at my life, you're like, this lady, she should be fine. She has no reason to have all these issues. But what I didn't know at the time was that my lifestyle was contributing so much, and I didn't really have tools. At that point, I hadn't found holistic health. I hadn't found the tools of coaching. I had no idea how to help myself. But I did know that I didn't want to be 43 years old taking 11 medications, which is probably what would have happened at the time if I hadn't taken a deep dive and tried to figure out, okay, what's really going on with me. So fast forward a number of years, and literally, you guys, a lot of the things that I was diagnosed with, I don't show any signs of having anymore. And I don't take those medications, and it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with taking some medications when you need them. But I think what we're going to dive into today is going to give you a better understanding of how you can be a huge part of your own healing, your own life. I think so often we look at the people in the white coats and go, okay, they must be the expert in this, and we don't question it, and we don't, we assume that that's the right way to do it. And I just want to open up your heart and mind to the fact that you do have a lot of understanding about what's going on with you, and you can be your best advocate. And nobody is going to do this for you. And no matter what the diagnosis is or whatever, there's just still so much that you can do. So it's been interesting to me over the last few months, because when Katie came to work with us, and I'm going to let her tell her story, but when she came to work with us, she had been diagnosed with ADD and had been taking Adderall. You had been taking more than that. And I'm going to let you tell that story beforehand. But you were really, I think you started to be introduced to our world. Yeah. And you're like, oh man, maybe there is another way.
Yeah.
And you started to get interested in wanting to come off that, and, you know, working with your doctor and doing a lot of things. You have now successfully weaned off. And so I just can't wait to hear about your journey, because I know this is possible for so many people. And I do know, you guys, that since 2020, I mean, it was bad before that, but since 2020, our young people are suffering. Our young people are suffering more than ever. And I want to be a voice in the world that offers them true, real solutions that can help them be inspired to take care of themselves better, to be inspired to do the things in our own lives that we can do to start to feel better. I know for myself, you know, I went through a period of time where I didn't take all the medicines that they prescribed back then, but I did take antidepressants 3 different times. And I was telling the girls on the way home, I said, you know, I got to the point I was taking Zoloft for a good while, and I got to the point where I literally felt dead inside.
Yeah.
And I know you, Katie, have talked about that. So share with us a little bit of your journey. Kind of walk us through, like, when you got put on that, why, what you were taking, and kind of how you have learned a lot and are still learning a lot and are really trying to go on more of a holistic journey for yourself.
Yes. Okay. So just some context. I have always been like an overachiever, overcompensator, like my whole life.
Yeah.
So
same.
Right. So it was like 2019, 2020, and I was experiencing like major burnout. I had never been diagnosed with ADHD, but in college, I had been diagnosed with like anxiety and depression. Just didn't really know how to manage my thoughts and emotions very well, obviously. I mean, college is a crazy time. So I had been prescribed before all of this big story I'm going to tell you, like, I think it was Lexapro or something like that. And I took it for like a month, and I took myself off of it. I was like, this is not the problem. Like, this isn't it. So that had been a whole thing. Then the pandemic hits, and at this point I'm on no medication at all besides birth control. And I have the Nexplanon implant. And I do think that there's something to say hormonally about what was going on, to like it speaks to the whole larger issue of like how I was feeling. So I think that's important to keep in mind. But we came home for the pandemic. I was going through a horrible breakup. We were like, I was living at home with my family of 8.
Okay. Yes.
So, you know, that was definitely interesting. But I remember walking to my neighbor's house, who was my best friend, and I've grown up with her my whole life, cried the whole walk over there. And I was like, I have to go to the doctor. Like, I'm depressed. I can't get anything done. I can't get out of bed, whatever, which is totally possible. So I go to the doctor thinking, you know, since I'd been diagnosed before with anxiety and depression, I'm depressed. Like,
and you're how old? Tell everybody who can't see how young and beautiful you are. You're how old, Katie?
21 at the time.
At the time, you're 21
now. Yeah.
21 years old, you guys.
Yeah, or 22. Like, right, it was my senior year of college. So that time.
Yeah.
And my pediatrician had always said that I could still come to her until I had babies. She was like, until you have babies, you can come to me. So I went to my pediatrician, which is crazy because I love my pediatrician. She's like the person who's taken care of all of my siblings our whole life. I trust her. I love her very much.
Yeah.
And I go in there, and I'm kind of describing to her like what it is that's happening. I'm like, I just feel like I can't get anything done. I go to do something, I forget about it, and I go to do something else, and I just want to take to the bed. Like, it's this hard time going on in my life. And she was like, you know, it's really highly possible that you have ADD, ADHD. I don't really know the difference between the two, which is another crazy thing.
Yeah.
And she gives me a written test, and it's like a scale of 1 to 10. Asks me a bunch of questions. I take it, and she's like, you have ADD. We're actually going to prescribe you Adderall. And at the time, I was like, Jack freaking pot. Like, I am about to be, because to like
at that point, and I know that this is very common on college campuses. So at that point, you probably had a lot of friends taking it. They're like, you're going to get so much done.
Like, I had taken it.
Oh, you had taken it. Okay.
Yeah, because I was a history major, so I was writing papers all the time. And I remember being like, I just want to try that. Like, I didn't think anything that it was like something that could be abused. I didn't like think negatively of it at the time.
Okay.
I just thought it was like a really awesome prescription that people could take for people like me, you know? And so I was like, jackpot. I remember calling my cousin and being like, you're never going to believe this. Like, I have ADD. I get to take Adderall. And she was like,
I get to take.
She was like, lucky. Like, it was awesome.
This reminds me, I have to interrupt you briefly because this reminds me of a hilarious story that my mom tells, that when diet pills, like, and they were amphetamines.
Right.
When they were like easy to get, you could go to the gas station. Her and my aunt would literally go to the gas station. They'd go, let's go get some diet pills so we can clean our houses. They would go get diet pills and they would take them and get all hyped up on the diet pills and then clean house all day.
No, actually. And I remember I've always struggled. This is another part of like why I think Adderall was a huge problem for me, is I had disordered eating before, which I think was contributing to, the way I felt mentally as well. And I remember when my doctor prescribed it to me, she said, this will be great because it'll curb your appetite.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. Okay. Not thinking very much about how it would affect me. So anyway, I start taking Adderall very quickly. And I want to say in like 5 months tops, I lose 70 pounds.
What?
Did you not know that?
No.
I lost 70 pounds. So like, that's already doing something like mentally to me that is probably not supposed to ever happen. Like, you are not supposed to change that quickly. Yeah. But it reminds me of the diet pills. Like, it was just to the overachiever kid.
Yes.
It like fueled every hope and dream I could have had. Like, you
were like literally on a high
constantly. And guess what? All my depression was gone because I felt nothing. Like, I literally felt nothing. I just felt amazing. Like, I put all my
no emotions.
No emotions. And very irritable, I will say. So, like, very, very irritable. So, this is what happens.
Physically, you felt amazing.
Yes.
Because you were losing all this weight. You had all this energy.
Yeah.
But then so much irritable.
Yeah.
No, like, not able to really process or feel emotion.
Yes. And I remember, like, me and my dad never fight. Like, we don't have a lot to argue about. And we were getting in, like, screaming arguments.
Wow.
And I remember being like, it's just because I can't live here. I can't be here during this time. But really, like, I was raging constantly.
Yes.
Like, I'm so sorry, Dad. Like, I was scared of myself. And so then I'm like, here's the scary thing about Adderall. I was on 10 milligrams at first. I get very well adjusted very quickly to about 10 milligrams. And then you have to kind of check in with your doctor every month because it's a controlled substance. And so she would say, like, how are you doing? And I would say, I feel like really normal. And they would go, okay, do you want 15? Get me to 15. Next month, do you want 20? I would go to 20. And then I was saying, like, I'm crashing really hard, like I'm really irritable. Okay, let's put you on extended release and take that come down out of the equation.
By the way, during this time, how are you sleeping?
Oh, I'm not. So then they prescribed me trazodone.
Oh,
is that how you pronounce it? Trazodone?
Yes.
And quickly came off of that because when you want to talk about feeling like a zombie. I felt like a zombie before with just the Adderall, but add the trazodone and the birth control.
Yeah.
I was like
a mess.
I needed like professional help. I should not have been like out in the world. It was
in the wild.
It was like kind of scary. But I remember thinking like at that time I was doing a lot of journaling and I was like processing things. But really I was telling Emmy, like, if you would have looked at my journal entries, they were like scary. It was like really unwell, wanting things for myself that were just like not normal. And I felt like it's not normal to not eat all day, have the driest mouth ever, not sleep. And I just kind of made myself become accustomed to it because I thought there's no way I could ever function again without Adderall.
It.
Like without Adderall. Like there's just no way.
What you're describing sounds exactly like classic addiction.
Oh, I was totally addicted.
Yeah.
And I would have never, ever admitted it. Like, and I told Emmy, I every day still am like, if I had an Adderall,
I had it, I'd take it. Yeah.
I would be like doing good right now.
Yeah.
Because you have to completely, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but you have to completely change your life. It's not just like,
and it takes your brain a while to rewire as you're finding out.
Oh my gosh, yes. So like I ended up getting up to 25 milligrams of extended release every single day. And I was just totally pumping through
I'm so curious. Emmy, check on, Emmy's doing our producing today, by the way. Check. Do you have a computer there where you could check? I would love to know. I haven't looked this statistic up. What's the percentage of college students that are taking a prescription drug? Yeah. It's probably something like Adderall or some kind of mood drug. I'm sure it's higher now than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. But did you feel like when you were going through all of that, did you feel like, well, this is just normal because I know so many other people doing it?
Yeah, and everyone wanted it from me. So, like, when the people would find out that I was on Adderall, people would be like, can I have one? And I would feel for them because I would be like, oh, my gosh, like,
it is so amazing. I wish.
But I got to a point where I was like, no, I have to have them. You cannot have them. Like, I never sold it, nothing. Yeah. Like, a lot. I mean, I'm just being real with you all. Yeah. College-aged kids are selling their prescription it all the time. Drugs. Yes, yeah. That's just the facts. Yeah. I was buying it from people in college. Like, you know. But I was to the point where I was like, you can't have this. It's like precious gold to me. Yeah. So I was like that for a long time. And
how long would you say you were on that high of a dose?
Oh, I was on 25 until I decided to come off. So I would say I went to 30 at one point.
Okay.
And when I was at 30.
Which is the highest dose, right?
For the name brand Adderall, yes. Yeah. If you wanted to, like, do generic, you could. Did Emmy find the stat?
Yeah, she found the stat. So 20%, what does it say? 20% of college students?
It ranges from, like,
14 to 20% of college students.
Are
prescribed it or are taking it? Or prescribed it. So imagine how many are taking it.
Yeah, I'm like double are taking it for sure.
For sure.
Like, everyone I know has tried something like that. Yeah. And I think part of it is that we do put this pressure on ourselves. A lot of us do to, like, overproduce and be the best. And like, for me, it was the miracle golden drug.
Yeah.
Of like, I can prove to everyone that I'm worth something because I can get more done than anyone.
It's funny that you say that because I've always said to myself, like, I do not understand people who take, like, downer. Like, I don't really get the alcohol. I don't get marijuana, anything like that. But if you could make a healthy amphetamine that would hype me up even more than I'm already hyped, I would be like, sign me up.
Yeah. And I always saw, like, on my bottle, it was like amphetamine. And I was like, that kind of sounds like methamphetamine.
It kind of sounds like I'm on meth right now.
But I didn't really know because when I had gone in to get prescribed it and all of the monthly check-ins for years after that, it was never like, literally.
Did you have to go every month?
I had to do a telehealth call. It took 3 minutes every month. And this is exactly what they would say. How's the medicine going? How's your weight? Has it fluctuated? Are you sleeping all right? Okay, great. Sounds good. I'll put the refill into your local Walgreens. Like, It was that easy. And if I were to say, like, you know, this past month I wasn't sleeping really well, they would say, well, do you want something else or do you want to lower your dose? And no way was I ever going to lower my dose.
Yeah.
At one point I got to 30 and it was too much. Like, it was to the point where I was like, I would shake all day. Wow. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. Like, I can't do 30. So 25s I was on, just to answer your question, probably 4 years.
Wow.
Almost. Yeah.
Makes me even more proud of you that you're here off of it and doing pretty darn good.
I'm doing okay.
So tell us about this. So this is interesting. I want to know the internal journey that you had.
Yeah.
Because I know what it was for me. It was that feeling of, like, being dead inside. I'm like, okay, I don't feel so stressed anymore. I just don't feel anything anymore. And I didn't want to live like that. I wanted to feel something. Like, I think, and a lot of women, when we're talking about mood altering drugs, a lot of women, when I was practicing medicine, would say to me, I haven't been able to cry since I got on this medicine. Totally. And so I think for different people, it's different things. But for you, what was the internal journey of, okay, I really want something different for myself?
Yeah, so buckle in. Basically, Emmy's laughing because she was there. I was like, for a while, I was like, this is awesome. I feel nothing. Because I have to watch myself. And it wasn't until I joined the program that I even was aware of any of this.
And joined the coaching program?
Yes.
So Katie got trained as a life coach. Yes. By the way, if you would love to hire an amazing young life coach who has been really steeped in our culture at Life Mentoring School for a couple of years now. So
yes, I would love to coach you. And here's why, because I went through this myself.
Or your daughters who
Or your
might
daughters.
be struggling with this right now.
Yes. So I was in a dark place, but probably right before coaching, it found me at the perfect time. You found me at the perfect time. So I was thrilled not to feel anything for 4 years. So what you guys have to understand for me personally is on Adderall, I was processing nothing that was happening to me for like 4 years. Like
Yep.
I was just like, keep moving,
Keep going,
moving,
keep going.
moving.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm productive, I'm worth
Yeah.
what I'm worth, whatever. So because of that, and because I didn't want to take the trazodone, I felt disconnected from myself.
Yeah.
So I was also smoking weed,
Like real regular?
like real regular,
Okay.
like every evening. I wouldn't like do it all day or
day.
anything, but like my treat, because I couldn't come down
Yeah.
because I was on Adderall all day,
Yeah.
was to go home, smoke, and relax. Like I thought that was like the best thing ever.
Okay.
And then I joined coach certification and I learned about numbing and buffering.
Yeah.
And I realized that there was not a single moment of my day that I was not numbing and buffering myself away from myself.
From your life.
Yeah.
And from
like
yourself.
I was
Yeah.
like, I would have like fun with my friends. I don't want to sound like I was just like all
A
the
zombie,
time.
right.
But I was not feeling the full extent of like joy. Like I would
Yep.
see other people truly feel joy. And I was like, I'm missing that. Like, I don't have that. I put all my joy in how much I can get done and then how much I can disconnect from myself at the end of the day. Like,
Yep.
that was joyful for me. And so I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So I stopped smoking weed first.
Okay.
Pretty immediately.
So how hard was that?
I would say that I had a really amazing support system at the time. So,
Okay.
like, when I decided to not do that anymore, and because Emmy had been through a journey like
Yes,
that, it was
yes.
easy for me to really lean
lean
on
on
and
your
rely on my
friends who-
friends.
yeah.
Yeah. And they were really encouraging, like, and I didn't like stop abruptly. It just like slowly. Kind
And
of
did you
stopped.
feel, because I know a lot of people will describe when they come off that they don't realize like what a cloud that
Oh my
has been
gosh.
over them. Did you feel that?
Yeah, I felt, and specifically in my relationship with the Lord. Like,
Yes.
I would say specifically, I was like, I remember telling them, I was like, guys, I didn't realize how much I was unable to like reach Jesus and how unable not that he can't, but
Right.
I was just so,
You were not available.
I was not available to anyone. I wasn't even available to myself. And if we don't, know ourselves, then how can we be in relationship with the Lord? So that cloud was first. Like, it was
Yeah.
like, wow. And then I was like, oh, I have some things to process. Like, I've not emotionally processed the last 2 years, I don't think.
Yeah.
So started
And I will
working through
say,
that.
as you say that, I just want to say for the women here, I know that in my world, when I first transitioned from modern medicine, like being in practice, to helping women holistically, a lot of women would, learn some good tools and
Yeah.
work with their doctors and start coming off their meds. And the same thing happened to me. And what would happen is you wouldn't realize how much of your emotional life had been blocked by that.
Yeah.
And so the first bit of time, it feels like too much. It feels like so much emotion comes up. And it is because it's just like you're saying, you haven't processed your emotional life. You haven't processed your life.
Yeah.
For however a number of years for
Yeah.
some women.
Yeah, that's exactly how it felt. It was like a flood, and I was still on Adderall. So I was still like able to block a lot of it out, but I had not helped myself because I was not only taking Adderall all day, I was coming home and, even more disconnecting from myself. So kind of processed that slowly, and it was really amazing. Going through coach certification was really helpful because it was like I was in therapy basically.
Yes.
Like I had all these tools. I was learning how to use them on myself so I could help other people.
Yep.
It was really helpful. And then I would say after that, I was like, I am still not
I'm still not
totally
there.
connected to myself.
Yeah.
And I hated that feeling all of a sudden. And I had never hated it before. But once I got down to like, hey, your work is not your worth.
Yes.
Like, you're not just what you can do.
Yeah.
You're loved for who you exactly are, no matter what. Work with your brain, not against it. Because what I was doing was, Adderall actually was not helping me in the long run. It was just helping me get stuff done, which at the end of the day is not more important than my
Than your
overall
actual health.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. And I did luck out where I had you, where I could be like, hey, I'm going to warn you right now.
Yeah, I'm not good.
I'm not good. I've not been good, and I'm about to come off my Adderall.
Yeah.
So
buckle up, everyone.
Everyone's going to have to just sit with me for a second.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got to that. And then I would say.
And tell us about your, like, specifically weaning down. How did you do that? I mean, I know that there are protocols, or your doctor might have given you a protocol, but how did you decide to do that?
Well, it took a lot of advocating for myself. So, like, on my monthly checkup, she was expecting to refill my prescription. And I like, just want to say, she was a great psychiatrist, like, nothing against her at all. She's a wonderful person. Yeah. But she was concerned for me, as any doctor would be, like, I'm wanting to come off of a very addictive, controlled substance. Yeah. So I was like, hey, I want to start weaning off my Adderall. And she was like, are you sure? And I said, yes, I'm sure. I don't want to be on it anymore. And she said, at all? And I was like, not at all, actually.
Was there a part of you at the time I'm sure you were really scared.
I was really scared, and I was really sad, honestly. Like, I was like,
this way of life, this thing that I've leaned on. Yeah. I get that.
And I read a quote, or it was probably from you or somewhere, but how at the very last moment before a breakthrough, your ego really, like, tries that one last
thing. Like, come on, Katie, you really need this.
Yeah, you really need this. And that was the moment where I was like, oh, I can trust myself, actually, because I just did stand up for myself. And I know that I can do this because I did not crumble underneath the pressure of, no, you do really need this. Instead, I was like, I'm sure. Like, I'm going to have my own back. I'm sure.
I'm so proud of you in that moment.
So month after month, we pulled down from, it was 25s, 20s, 15s. And then because I was also, I didn't tell my doctor this, but I wasn't taking it every day anymore, so I had so many left over. Yeah. When I did decide to wean off, that I never went down to 10s. I just started, like, every few days having a little 15, or, like, I would break them up and take a half. Yeah. So I did that for a while until I think January of this year, like the end of January.
You finished.
Is when I was finished, and I was like, guys, I remember I had like 2 left, and I would like, no, I'd be like, I need to save this, like,
for a really hard day.
Yeah, like, I don't know when I'm gonna get this again. That's addiction, by the way.
Yeah.
Like,
hello,
you're addicted to this. So I think that's finally when I came totally off of it.
Unbelievable. Okay, so then that's when the real story starts. So tell us what happened.
Then I got totally depressed. By the way.
Then it was bad.
And then it was really bad, and I didn't know it because I had been blocking guys, and I would have said, like, I am the master of processing emotions. I'm a certified coach. Like, I know
how to say all the words. I know how to teach you how to do it.
Yeah. I'm going to show up for myself. But here's the thing. I had, like, prepared mentally for what was going to happen to me when I came off Adderall, but there was a litany of physical effects I was not prepared for. Yeah. Like, guess what? Your energy,
none.
Totally low. Like, and the other thing is, I'm kind of withdrawing from a really strong drug. So I didn't really realize it because I had not been very great at listening to myself for a very long time, that I was just, like, making horrible eating decisions, not moving my body. I was, like, totally self-isolating. I was being weird around my friends, like, not on purpose, but just, like, I didn't like myself. So I wasn't showing up very well, but it's because I didn't know myself. Like, at all. So then I was like, I have to process some of this. I have to get to know me, and I have to, unfortunately, completely restruct how I do my entire day, because I have to start doing things that are good for my brain. And I wasn't doing any of those things. I was just relying on basically narcotics to, like, totally autopilot me through my life.
Yes.
So that was really hard too. And it wasn't until, and I had a really negative talk track, which is crazy because I know how to not do that. And I know how to tell other people not to do that, but to do it for yourself.
But in your own head, it was, I'm sure, this, like, you're never going to get better. This is, whatever it was for you.
Well, and I kept making decisions that I was disappointed in. So, like, I wasn't, like, doing anything horrible, but I was, like, not working out when I said I would. I wasn't showing up to work the way I wanted to show up to work. I've always been the person that like takes a lot of pride in their work, but because I didn't take pride in myself, I wasn't taking any pride in my work. And I wasn't eating well, and I was talking to people I just like that weren't serving me. I had to like end some relationships and stuff that were pretty negative. So once I could muster through that, I was like, oh, there you are. Like, you can trust yourself now. Yeah, like, there she is. And I got my sparkle back, is what my friend Douglas and I have been saying, is like, we're going to get our sparkle back. Yeah. We're going to do this.
Okay, that makes me teary-eyed, because I do feel like it's one of the things that I'm really passionate about to help the women that we help in Life Mentoring School, because a lot of them, probably not for things that you're saying, but for similar reasons, life, it just gets hard, and we develop these habits we don't love, or we get on a pile of things that, you know, in the end aren't really serving us maybe. And I think we lose, or we feel like we've lost touch with that sparkly, glittery, magical version of ourselves. And I just want to encourage us all that she is still there. And all she needs is a little support from us.
And like, truthfully, my sparkly version of myself is the ADD version of myself. Like, she's so creative and fun.
Don't take her away.
Like, and in the moment, and crazy and awesome in like the best way, and passionate, and like, just like, that is me. And so when I, for years, was like, she's put her away. Like, what do you get left with?
Katie, that's so smart that you recognize that, because for years before we had the labels of that, obviously you and I have talked about this, but this is how my brain works as well. And I always wanted to make myself wrong for it. Like, why can't you just be like normal people? Look at your sister. Look at Gina. She is a sensible person who can unload the dishwasher all in one
That's exactly
setting.
You know what's so funny is my sister is just like that. Like, she's so efficient and so...
And just sensible. Like, she does things in the right order, and she doesn't forget things. And she shows up with all the paperwork she needs. And when she goes to the airport, she knows where all the gates are and the stuff is.
It's stressful to her. She
and
just
I'm like,
knows.
That's never going to be my role in the relationship. So I'm the fun one.
I'll bring
You're the fun one.
That's right.
We're the spontaneous ones. We are going to make the journey a little crazy. And I'm good with that now.
Yes, it's like a good thing, because your life would be boring without me.
And the other thing is, like, for instance, one of the things that I struggled with that I always kind of wanted to change is I felt like I was too sensitive. You're too easy to cry. You take on other people's emotions. You feel things too hard and too deep. Well, the period of time where I was taking medication, I didn't have that or feel that. And I missed that version of me. I missed that version of me that literally tears up at the drop of a hat. I miss the version of me that is quick to tears, quick to laugh, quick to fun. And I don't think we need to medicate her away.
No, my sisters actually make fun of me, because for so long, the only emotion I felt was anger, because I was just irritable all the time. And now they're like, oh gosh, she's going to cry.
She's going to cry.
She's going to cry. And I'm like proud of it, because I'm like so excited that it's available to me to cry, because for so long, the only tears I had were frustrated, angry tears. And now like, I just cry when they show me like a video of, it could literally be anything. I cry at musicals. I cry when I go home to see my family. Like, I just cry. And they're like, oh gosh, like, here she goes again with the tears. And I'm like, that's right.
That's right.
And
Here I am.
And I'm thankful.
Showing up with my big whole heart and the tears and the fears and the frustrations. And I think that's the thing that, that I would want to say to people your age who are struggling with stuff like that, people my age. And I think people I think what we do sometimes gets a bad rap, because people think what we're doing here in this program, or, they think what we're advocating on this podcast or whatever, is that you be superhuman. Just pretend like everything's fine all the time. Just the shiny, Pollyanna positive. And I can err on the side of that, because listen, y'all, I had a dark childhood. So I think my brain learned to go to the opposite. But here's what I will say. We just want to help you be more you. Be more human. Welcome and allow all the parts of you that feels too deeply, the parts of you that cries easy, the parts of you that gets frustrated, the parts of you that is sad. Like, you welcome all of that. And I think what happens when you do that is you do then become a place where joy can live. You become a place where you can feel all of the emotions. You take, responsibility for it, for yourself, for your life. And again, I'm not saying that, you don't sometimes need help with that. I'm not against people taking stuff like that for short term, but especially as we're thinking about mood altering drugs. But I just think that the way we have done it these days in modern medicine is we try to cover up our humanity. Like we try to not be human anymore. We try to not have the quirky parts of our personality that makes us who we are. We try to, not be the oversensitive person or whatever. And I just think that it's so beautiful, the variation in personality, because what happens for most women, especially women that I took care of when I was practicing medicine, is we end up as some version of the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Right. It's like you can literally either be the angry version that's not processing anything, or you can learn to work through it. And here's what I was always so afraid of. I was like, it's going to kill me to process all of that emotion.
It's think
gonna
that.
Kill me. Like I knew that that's what was coming for me because I was in the program.
I had that same thought too. I thought to myself, no, I'm just the kind of person where my life has been hard.
So hard.
And maybe it would be too much for me.
Yeah.
And what I've realized over the past several years is that the more I open up to even the hard parts, the more joy I experience, the more positive emotion I allow myself to feel, the more love I feel, just the more genuinely connected to myself, to my life, to the people in my life than I really have ever been. And I'm so thankful that I didn't use the fact that my life had been hard or, when we've been through a house fire, all the hard things that happen. Yeah. I got some help when I needed it. I took some medicine when I needed it then. But I haven't made that a lifestyle. And I think for most of us, not everybody, but I do think for most of us, we have way more agency over it than we think. Yeah. There are so many things that we can do to help ourselves, to really help ourselves heal, to not hide from what's happened to us and in us. To really connect back to ourselves. So I'm curious for you, these past few months, tell us some of the things that you have done or some of the habits maybe that you feel like have really helped in this transition as you're trying to find a new normal for yourself. And
yeah. It's like all the things you would, if you like Googled, like how do you help your ADHD without being on medicine? It's like all of those
all of those things.
Hey, turns out that stuff works. So mostly I would say I have to have enough sleep. Yeah. Like 100%. So I try to get.
Are you sleeping good now?
I sleep great.
Oh,
yeah, I sleep great.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. Like even just that will make you feel more sane than you've ever been.
More human. Yes.
Like I'm like, oh, I'm not crazy.
Oh, apparently I don't need to go without sleep for 4 years.
Right. Which I used to like boast about. I was like, I don't need much sleep.
Right.
Okay. You sound psychotic. You do need sleep, by the way. This is what I'll say. If I do not get up and get a walk in at least like 30 minutes right at the beginning of my day,
okay,
because I'm trying to help out my little dopamine centers in my brain,
yes,
I'm kind of like not gonna.
It goes downhill.
Yeah, it's not gonna be great. So I have to stay off my phone. It's mostly staying off the phone, but also getting the endorphins going, getting a little sweat.
The good endorphins, the ones you actually earn instead of the ones that we often get from dopamine or from our phones. Yeah.
Right. So if I can wake up and get a walk in, then I usually am like, oh, nice. And really, it's all day long building trust and confidence that I'm gonna do the things I say I'm gonna do. So then it's like after that, okay, well, what's gonna make me feel good next? Okay, I'll have a cup of coffee and start on planning my day. Yeah. So, I mean, I have the planner, obviously, the LMS planner. Yes. So filling that out has been really helpful because it just averts my focus to the right thing. Yeah. Because it's so easy for me to go, what was I doing? Right. Oh, okay, let me just... Because here's the other thing. I work on my phone. Yes. So having to set good boundaries, like I'll usually read at lunch. So I'm not, because I'm already on my phone and my computer
to work.
So much. Yeah. So I'll usually like read at lunch. I also just love to read. So letting myself do that and be away from a screen. Yeah. And not beating myself up for it. Like, right. I think for people like us with our brains, you have to be okay with like scheduling some fun into your day.
Amen.
Or like, of course, I'm just going to zone out on my phone. Right. Like my brain is chasing dopamine constantly.
Yes. And we were talking about this in the car that instead of, so if you're someone who is trying to make a change like this, instead of saying, oh, well, I can't get on my phone or I can't do this. No, just fill your day with good, positive things and it will crowd out the time that you're doing the thing, zoning out on your phone or eating bad food or whatever. It'll crowd that out.
So you can't even
Yeah, yeah. And I think you have to be patient with yourself. Like I have seen for myself building these good habits. Like I don't know if anybody could even tell now that I have ADD or if I still have it.
No, my favorite thing to say about you is that you move fast because you will be like, I'm getting this done. And she like gets it done. I'm like, she moves fast, boys and girls.
Yeah, but it's like taking, years of skill and practice and commitment to it to just retrain myself, accepting that, my brain works differently than most people, and that's okay. That's part of my genius. I'd love to say that. I do believe that. It's my superpower.
Yeah.
And I can just power through some things because, I've just taught myself like, okay, let's channel that ability to hyper focus on things, to really get the things done.
Yeah. So I've gotten really proud of like the things I hyper focus on. I'm excited about them.
Yeah.
I would say also like we in April did a metabolism reset challenge and didn't eat like flour or sugar.
We had to talk about this last night, y'all, and I'm going to tell you something right now. The
changed
girls both said, I felt so good.
Well, especially clarity. I had so much mental clarity in that month.
Yep.
And I think a big part of it was I was hitting protein, walking a lot, but the no carbs, no sugar. Emmy and I had a pub sub this week, you guys. And afterwards we were like, why do we feel like this?
Why do I feel so bad?
We want to do nothing for the rest of the day, lay down. Like, I want to know what I did. I zoned out on the Eras Tour live stream on TikTok for like an hour or longer maybe.
Yeah.
And I think that had something to do with it. Like the bread for people with brains like mine and yours.
Yes.
It's not good for my brain.
No.
It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And then also my supplements.
Okay. So tell me, what are you taking?
The Super Bee from Young Living, I've noticed
Nice.
makes a very large difference.
So good. I, for years, have taken Super Bee at lunch as like a boost.
Yeah, that's when I take it. Yeah. So I take Super Bee. And then the other thing that I think makes a big difference, and because it helps with my sleep, is magnesium. So I take a lot of supplements, but
I take a lot of magnesium.
I would say those two I've just noticed when I'm taking them pretty.
Yeah.
Because I've taken L-theanine and I didn't personally think it
didn't
help.
It wasn't
that
revolutionary
much
for me either.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that works for you, that's awesome. I've heard good things, but those are the
magnesium 3 and 8 is the one that I've been using. I don't know if you've tried that one, but that is the one that I use at night because my overactive brain does have a hard time settling down. So that has been such a game changer.
Yeah. And I do take melatonin at night.
Yep.
And my doctor actually said that was okay because it was naturally recurring in your body.
Yeah.
So it's not something that like she was very worried about.
Right.
But I will say like because I do have that overactive brain as well, and I will read all night because I do zone out and hyper focus. I do have to take some melatonin to kind of just like get this girl, chilling out. I would love to be in a place where I don't have to take it anymore, but that's not in my future. So right now, my current future.
That's so amazing. Yeah. So now you're 4 months out. Mm-hmm. How would you say like what would be your summary of like how you're doing now and what you're looking forward to in the future or whatever? Do you still, I'm sure you still have days where you're like, oh, this is really hard.
Totally. Especially days where I'm not totally great at like getting the habits that I just listed done.
Yes.
Like those are days where.
Those are your good days when you're doing all of that.
Yes. Yeah. And then I don't want everyone to think like I have that day every day. I definitely don't.
Yeah.
But the days where I don't have that going on, I think the biggest thing for me is to not like, I'm really hard on myself, but not hard on myself on the way that makes me productive, hard on the self that makes me like shut down.
Yes.
And so I have to be really careful because my tendency is to shut down anyway.
Yeah.
So like I have to be very like, okay, well, you didn't get a walk in this morning. It was raining.
Yeah.
That's okay. Have some coffee and let's just pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm feeling really good
hopeful
right now.
And
really hopeful. Yeah. There was I would say February and March were really, really hard.
Really hard.
Like really, really hard. Because my body and my brain were not used to that.
Yep.
And it was cold and like dark all the time.
Yes.
And I think that had a lot to do with it, just being inside a lot.
Yeah.
But then after April, after doing the metabolism reset, feeling for the first time like, oh, this is out of my system.
Yep.
I feel like amazing.
So
and just ready
good.
really excited for summer. So that's been my biggest thing is I'm just like, I'm really looking forward to a lot, which I didn't for a minute. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, and I think I had similar experience when I had been on Zoloft for a while and came off. I kind of had a similar experience, but I'm going to tell you that I think the more you build capacity for yourself to just experience your life, the ups and downs of life, the more you increase your emotional resilience, really work on your mindset. Like, what do I want to think about this? How do I want to think about my life? And you're intentional about it. You're using your planner to write down the thoughts that you want to practice. I find that the more I just stay focused on those things and just almost treat it like a job. Like, it's my job every day to practice the thoughts I want, to increase my emotional capacity by feeling all of the emotions that come up, by creating emotions on purpose. What I have noticed, in the last few years is that I so enjoy the experience of my life. I so enjoy being in my own skin. I feel like I'm living in the miracle of life. I'm not zoning out. I'm not medicating myself out of it. I'm not avoiding myself or my life. And it doesn't mean that there aren't still hard things. There are always going to be hard things, which I think is all the more reason, even if you're taking medication for a while or whatever help you're needing to get, that you build the skills of mental and emotional resilience as you're, doing that. And I think probably for you had been building those skills for a couple of years, through doing the coaching program and getting certified. Like you say, it's kind of like an intense therapy session, few months. And then giving yourself enough space to go, okay, now I think I'm ready for this next change. I just love how you did it in a stepwise fashion and gave yourself the chance to really succeed at it. So we're so proud of you.
Thanks.
It's amazing.
It feels like I get to hold my hand for the first time, like in a while. I was so disconnected from myself, and now I'm like willing to sit there and, be like, hey, it's okay.
Yep.
You're going to do this, girl. Look what you did before. You came off adderall.
Yes.
You can do anything.
You can do anything.
That's how it feels.
So amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess I just want to leave everybody with, as a medical doctor who practiced for a long time, again, I'm thankful that we have modern medicine. There's so much of it that's amazing. I do think, though, that, you hear the words big pharma, you hear the words big food, the food that is available for us to eat is not great. You have to be very intentional about how you nourish yourself. And then when that food makes us sick, there's a pill for everything that, again, often doesn't get at the root cause of what's going on. So I think we have to take responsibility for ourselves, for our health, and do the things that we know are going to make us truly healthy from the inside out. I've said this several times in the last few months, but I love this quote. When you're not healthy, the only thing you can worry about is your health.
Right.
When you have your health, you're free to worry about other things.
Right.
And I know for myself that was so true. Like when I was struggling with my health, that's all I could think about is how bad I felt and how can I feel better.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. And it consumed me. And then once I started down this sort of holistic health journey, really taking responsibility for it myself, making lifestyle changes, nourishing myself better, moving my body better, reducing stress, sleeping better, like all the things that we know we need to do. When I started doing that, I'm like, oh, now my energy is freed up to do the thing in the world I'm called to do. I think what it does, it just opens up your life. It opens up what you can think about and focus on. And that's what we really want for, our mamas and sisters and the friends we have out in podcast land. That's what we want for you too. So I am so grateful for your vulnerability and for sharing with us today. I know it's going to help somebody. Some mama out there is going to send this to her daughter who's struggling, and she's going to hear your voice in her head, knowing that she can do this and that she can create an amazing, beautiful life and not feel, not have to feel like she's taking something all the time that is numbing her out of it or not allowing us to really experience the fullness of our lives. So,
well, I'm grateful for you because I don't know if I ever would have come off of it if I didn't know about this whole world, which, by the way, is so fun to learn about, guys. Stop. The system is broken for sure, but once you dive into learning about like how to take care of yourself, it's very addicting.
It's so fun. It's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, it's so fun.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today. Every time you listen to the podcast, we are so grateful. We don't take it for granted. We love you. We love serving you. We would love to hear anything, any topics that we haven't covered yet that you want us to cover. Leave us a review. Go and leave us a rating. It helps other amazing women like you find our podcast, number one. And it helps us if you leave us a comment there. Tell us what you're loving about the podcast. Give us suggestions in those reviews. And we love reading those. We so appreciate you. We are getting close, you guys, to our 200th episode. And we are going to celebrate like crazy because that's what we do around here. So we've got a couple of fun surprises coming for that. So stay tuned. We can't wait to share with you and celebrate 200 episodes together. So all right. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.